Let me
All
turn off
right.
devices. I'm notorious for not doing that.
For getting to hit record. Yes. All right, guys, we are going to get started. Welcome to everyone who's joining us. This is the Walla webinar series where we get together once a month to talk about things happening in business, in boutique fitness, in software, and we love to bring in people that we kind of respect and love in the industry. And Nicole is one of those people. So today we're going to be talking about sales at studios. And we've named this one Sales School. We really wanted to make this a kind of fun, engaging webinar. So if you have questions along the way, please pop in. If you hover over the bottom bar of your Zoom, there's a little Q&A box down there. So that's something that's unique to Zoom webinars. So you can pop in questions there and I'll be able to see them come up on the screen. And then if you guys have, if you don't see me answer right away, it's possibly because we're getting to something that will answer that question shortly. But if there's anything that you need, like specific context or clarity around what she recently said, then we'll definitely get to it right away. Thank you so much, everyone who's just popping in now. Let's just kick off without further ado. Nicole, thanks for being here with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to do it.
Yeah. So guys, for those of you who don't know Nicole, she founded Blackbird Yoga Studio in New Jersey in 2016. And you still have the studio, right? You were just saying you're teaching there tonight?
I still have the studio. Yes, I am teaching there.
Awesome. I know, which I know is not a normal occurrence because you're working on a lot these days. You're a business consultant in the industry. You're a transformational life coach. And I know I've heard you speak about this, but your mission is to help women in the wellness world stop undervaluing themselves and their businesses. This speaks very directly to my heart. So I'm excited to have you on here and talk about how we can really pivot that kind of mindset through sales. But I love how you help your clients think bigger, work smarter, and just improve their success so they can live out their life and dreams, which is what we're all about. So thank you for doing the work you do. And I'm excited to turn it over to you and talk about what you're here for today.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for that introduction. I really appreciate the kind words. You said something to me, I think on a podcast maybe a year or so ago that just has rung in my head ever since then. We were talking about the yoga industry specifically. I know that some of the people on the call here are in different verticals, but for the most part, my heart and my work is in the yoga world. And you told me this is an industry that unfortunately suffers from a lack of professionalization. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that is really important to me in my work is to kind of merge this heart-centered business with the professional business practices that are required in order to make it successful. And sales is the perfect kind of illustration of that, because the way that I teach sales is to really connect with your clients and really gain a deep understanding of why they're there. I always joke that we're not selling Coca-Cola. We're selling something that really transforms our clients' lives. And so by educating and inspiring and connecting, the sale becomes just the natural kind of byproduct of all of that relationship building work that we've already done. And I think there's a way to do it that is not sleazy. It's not overt. It's really just heart-centered, which is exactly why I think we're all in this in the first place. So
yeah, absolutely. And I'm so glad you brought this topic to us and to the forefront, because I think there's a lot of trepidation in asking for business. And ultimately, people are inundated with decisions all day long. And what I really see, and I think what we'll end up getting to today and talking through, is that you're really there to help facilitate an experience for them. And at certain points, they're going to appreciate you helping take them to the next step, take one of those decisions or, paralyzing moments away from them and just offer them the next step. And I'm just so excited to hear your thoughts on how we can do that with ease and grace and feel good about it.
That's the perfect word. I think I read somewhere recently that, there are two major decision-making factors for a client and whether or not they say yes to moving forward with you. It's personalization, whether or not the offer that you've given them, the way that you've communicated them is in the right language at the right moment, the right time.
Right.
And ease, whether or not it's easy for them to take the next step. In other words, we're all flooded with input constantly. We're constantly scrolling, looking at different things. I mean, in the past couple of years, we're online more than ever. Don't make them parse through like a ton of different, content and words and pages and clicks in order to complete the transaction. We've got to make it simple. We've got to make it easy, and we've got to make it direct. What do you want me to do next? That goes for all of your marketing. So, all right, I'm just going to. Clearly, this is a topic I can just go on.
We really, really will stick to the 45 minutes. We will try hard.
I promise. All right. I'm just going to share my screen.
All right. Perfect. You can see. Looks great.
Awesome. Okay. All right. So the first thing I want to cover is that there is a distinct difference between marketing and sales. And the vast majority of the time that I chat with a prospective client and new client, they are telling me something to the effect of, I just need more bodies through the door. I just need more volume. And once in a blue moon, that's true. But by and large, this industry doesn't have a client attraction problem. It has a retention problem. In other words, most studios are attracting more than enough new customers, but they're not hanging on to them. They're not taking them to the next step. And I would highly recommend anyone, watching this or thinking through this who may have said, I just need more people, really take a look at their conversion rate, right? Really take a look at what percentage of their first-time customers are becoming members. And if that's not something along the lines of 30 to 40%, you've got to kind of work the stuff that we're about to talk about before you start spending money on advertising and trying to, generate leads, because that's just going to be wasted money, wasted effort. We need to make sure that we've got a well-defined, replicable, you can apply it to every single client, practice for converting your prospects, which when someone is a trial member, they're still a prospect, into committed members. And so first and foremost, you want to determine that, yes, indeed, I need to work on retention. I need to work on sales, not necessarily on building brand awareness just yet.
Okay. And for those of you on the call that haven't really dug into this report yet, the intro offers report in Walla is exactly that. It will give you right there what your conversion rate is from your intro offer to other plans, and we even break it down by which plan and what percentage converts to that. So you'll have easy access to know if this is something you need to be working on.
Well, ease applies to us too, right? Cool. So on average across the industry, and this is not a number I'm particularly proud of, the average conversion rate to membership for a studio that does not have a well-defined sales process is usually something like 10%, meaning, wah, wah, wah. I see Laura's like sad face. And so we really need to make an effort to improve this number. Hope marketing, right? Like selling them a trial and hoping they decide to come back just isn't going to cut it. It never did, but particularly not now when we're trying to cut through the noise and stand out. So again, we're looking for that 30 to 40% conversion rate. I like to hold my clients to a higher standard. I'm usually looking for something like 50% conversion rate. And the way that we do that is through offering different tiers of membership, which I'll get to in a second. But recurring revenue is the single most effective growth tool for any small business. Like if you think about the businesses that you buy from, more than likely you have a subscription. And so like, there's a reason why I get my dog food, my, baby food, my makeup, Amazon, like there's a reason why that's all on subscription. It's easy for the client. And I think for a fitness business where we don't necessarily want to sell to our clients over and over and over again, memberships just make sense. Yeah. So this kind of foundational piece needs to be in place. You've got to have memberships. You've got to have different levels of membership. And of course, they have to be the most appealing pricing option for your clients. No amount of education or marketing in the world is going to overcome a pricing structure that's flawed, right? So we want to make sure that those memberships are priced properly and they're an easy yes in and of themselves.
Awesome.
The case for memberships. So assuming you do have those foundational pieces in place, this is just a high level overview of the way that I like to think about sales. First, we make the connection, we bring the client into our fold somehow, then we educate them. When I'm thinking about content to share with clients that I'm trying to nurture and move along the pipeline, I'm thinking, what are my first time clients asking me about? What are the questions that they have? They usually want to know something like, which classes are right for me? How do I book my class? Where do I park my car? What do I do when I get to the studio? Like any content that you can share that lifts the veil of mystery is good content to reach out to these folks with. So an educational approach, and don't assume that your customers have read through your frequently asked questions section on your website, or they're reading the class descriptions page. That's probably not the case. And so we want to kind of make sure we're getting that information in front of them and quickly.
Just to throw something quick in there, one of the highest open rates and click rates that I had in any of my emails when I was doing consulting and kind of working in behind the scenes in studios was an email that says 5 ways to find success in your intro offer, or 5 ways to rock your intro offer at our studio. Play around with the title of that to to make it on brand. But people want to know what's going to make them successful, or what they can expect, or what they can do. And just that little bit of education gave so many people piqued their interest and made them open and click the email. So it's totally fits in there.
Yeah. One of the things that we're playing around with in my studio right now, I actually have it on I will pull it up maybe later, but we are asking our prospects about their experience level with yoga, their interests, and we are sending out class recommendations based on their level and their interests, right? So right now, if someone's a beginner to yoga, we've got an absolute beginners series running, and then we've got just like our regular gentle, we call them unwind and ground classes. And so we send them an email highlighting just those 3 offers with a very clear button, call to action, book now, so that they feel seen and they're not overwhelmed with choices.
Right, perfect.
The other thing about that email is that when you're using email as a retention tool, particularly because when we're talking about sales, we're talking about the beginning of your relationship with them usually, particularly if you're on a membership model where hopefully you sell to them once and then kind of that's the end of that. They're in this results seeking phase, right? When somebody starts at a new studio, they're after results. Some problem has pushed them over to the edge. Maybe it's my studio closed, but it's probably something more like I've hit a breaking point with sitting on the couch. My pain has become overwhelming. My stress level is, more than I can tolerate. And something has inspired them to take action. And we really want to use the language and messaging that meets them where they are, right? So the thing with yoga and other modalities is that we kind of speak our own language, right? Like I don't know, maybe someone comes to us with stress and in the back of our head, we're thinking, I recommend a 40-day sadhana of Vipassana meditation with, exactly. Like I see Laura kind of like holding her hands over her head. That is not the language your clients are speaking, particularly not in the beginning. And it's just going to fall flat, right? Like we want to meet them where they are. We want to reflect their language back at them. And we want to make sure that the words we're using are the words that our clients are using to describe their struggle, their problems. That's really important in marketing. Okay, so nurture, right? We inspire them. We share a glimpse of what life can look like on the other side of their pain or if they're struggling. And then of course we close by making an offer that is urgent and time sensitive and feels really, really delicious to the client. Cool.
I like it.
You like it? All right. So how do we do this? My first piece of building a relationship with someone is something that I call intentional intake, or I've got a client right now that's doing something called an explore session, which I love so much. It's very on brand for her. Her business is, it's like an outdoorsy, naturey type of business. And she books in an appointment with them, either via Zoom. And that's the coolest thing right now, right? Is that like everybody knows what Zoom is now. So booking a time to actually have a sit down is possible. This may or may not be an option for you based on how much volume we're talking about. But if you're a small boutique business, like take the time to actually chat with your customers and understand their reason why. Why are they coming to you right now? So booking an intentional intake, whether that's an actual appointment or just a conversation that's had while your front desk staff member is showing the client around the studio. Here's the blocks, here's the shoes, here's the massage room, and get your team to start asking open-ended questions about what is bringing the client to you now. So we usually say something like, what brings you to yoga? Or have you done some yoga before? Or what are your goals for your yoga practice? And we get the client talking. What we're really trying to get a handle on is what's the right solution for them, which of our services and classes are going to meet their needs, and what is the type of marketing and communication that's going to be most effective. And then we have our staff make notes somewhere. So the great thing about Walla is that it's got a notes section in the client profile. So you can actually have your team jot down, this is Sally's first ever yoga class, or doctor sent her here because she's got lower back pain. Let's recommend gentle and restorative classes this week or something. Right.
Perfect.
Cool. So intake process, so important. This can be, depending on the size of your business, really personal. I can be a little old school in this way, like an actual face-to-face sit-down conversation. It can be a meeting, or it can be an automation. It can be something that goes out, in an email to someone that says, what are your goals? What are your interests? They click an option, and then it drips out the right campaign to them. So this can really run the gamut from super manual to super slick and sophisticated, just depending on your size and your desire.
Yep, I love it. Email marketing systems are incredibly smart, and most of them integrate with some sort of a survey machine. So those can be really easily used.
Super, super easy. Yep. I always like to say that building this stuff out is a work hard once moment. It takes a lot of effort to set this up. But then the idea is that the system is just working. And so people flow through it effortlessly, and you never have to, you might tweak it and change it every now and again, but you don't necessarily have to set it up again. Another really important premise for setting up a comfort level with the sales is to create safety. And this is particularly important with new customers, particularly important with new to fitness customers. I always, I've been in this industry so long that I sometimes forget that gym intimidation is so real, that people resist and avoid coming to our studios because they're concerned about what they're going to look like, whether or not they've got to lose weight first, whether or not they're wearing the right clothes, whether or not they're going to be able to keep up in class. That is a real barrier in our industry. And so anything we can do to relieve that in our clients is going to create a better relationship and ultimately a better pathway to the membership. So having a process for giving tours, every single time you've got a first time client, introducing them to staff. I mean, this is huge. This is the most important relationship in your studio, is the one between the student and the teacher that they see every week or every, whatever, a couple times a week. We want to provide as much information as possible. Information builds safety. It builds a sense of trust, and it builds a sense of, I know what I'm getting myself into. I know what I'm doing. I know I'm taking the right class. I know that I'm amongst the right people, all of this. And I also love a welcome package. And again, this can be a physical gift or it can be digital, but something that the client gets that like leverages this element of surprise and delight. I love to surprise and delight my new clients. So we do a personalized schedule. Here's the classes that we think you should take. We let them know about our policies. That's not so sexy, but it's important nonetheless.
Yeah.
In the welcome package, it's a great time to upsell. It's like the best time to upsell. They've just discovered your business. They're excited about what you have to offer. This is where we do private sessions. We offer massages. We tack, add-ons onto their trial, just to get them really embedded in the culture of the studio. And so I love this. I really like, for brick and mortar business, I can be a little old school, but like a physical gift goes such a long way. Actually, Laura, you're giving out like the most amazing gifts right now. I see on Instagram. Like,
I know we have some fun Walla welcome gifts. Some of you guys today have gotten them. Honestly, before you move on from this slide, this actual tangible thing that you give out at your studio can be something super cheap. Like one of my favorite experiences ever, I was in Boston speaking at a conference and I went to a local bar studio. It wasn't franchise. It was just like a local bar studio. And they gave everybody, after anybody who was first time visitor, she pulled out a sheet of paper with the schedule printed on it. And she knew I was only in town for a few days. So she just highlighted the classes that I could come to over the couple days that I was there. So literally physical highlighter, highlighted the classes. And then on top of it had like she was like, does your hotel happen to have a bath? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, all right, you're getting it. She handed me like a little sweet baggie of Epsom salt, and they had a sprig of lavender tied onto it. That probably cost like pennies to put together, right? Like you can buy a tub of Epsom salt for almost nothing.
How long ago was that, Laura?
2018, okay. 2019. Yeah.
So that was like what, 4 years ago? And you remember it.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
and I was a visitor. That was the thing. Like she could have easily been like, whatever, you're not going to be a member. But I went back for a second class at that business because I was like, this is amazing. Nobody puts this much time and effort into it. So anyway, I love the welcome gift.
I love the welcome gift. I'm such a fan of the welcome gift. I mean, the first impression is so critical, and this is what your clients remember about your business. So it can be super. I had a similar experience years ago, went to a meditation studio. First thing, they called me by my name, right? Like, so when I walked in the door, they knew, I guess I was the only first time visitor that day, which is not unusual for a small studio. And I walked in the door and they said, Nicole. I mean, that little thing is so powerful. And then it was a tote bag that probably cost 86 cents, a lip balm, and a schedule. And I remember it to this day. So totally worth the effort.
And one thing too, I know you have in their promotions, but why not put the information about your upsell offer or your membership right away? So there's no surprise when you're sending email automations or text messages, inviting them down the road, which I'm sure you'll talk about, to move into the membership. They know about it.
I just said that to my husband. My husband owns I can never say this, jiu-jitsu school. And we were like taking a look at some of his competitors this morning, and they, like, a martial arts school makes you jump through so many hoops in order to get to the price, right? It's like, you've got to book a free class, and then you got to talk to a person, and you got to show up, and then they give you the spiel. And it's like, I would bet my life that the vast majority of like hesitant first-time people who aren't already into jiu-jitsu are just like, forget it, I'll go somewhere else. So we're literally putting on his website this morning, no gimmicks, transparent pricing, $120 a month. This is what it costs. Make it easy. All right. So then the education piece, right? Like I think I spoke a little bit to the fact that we want to educate our clients on why a consistent yoga, fitness, mindfulness practice, whatever it is that you're offering, will help them meet their personal and wellness goals. We also want to educate them on why your intro offer is the best option. So of course, hopefully it's priced in such a way that it's an easy yes. Sort of the gold standard right now is that it's about 50% of wherever you ultimately want them to go. I would also like to see the drop-in price positioned in such a way that it makes people go, is there a better way? But we want to make sure that your clients are being educated on why the intro offer is the best deal, because we don't have a prayer of executing any of the other marketing and relationship building stuff if we don't get them into that pipeline, if we don't actually sell them the intro offer. And this is really important because I see a lot of studios that have, 80, 100 first-time visits a month and are selling, 10, 20 intro offers. That's a problem. And if it's not a pricing problem, it's a sales problem. It means that they're not being educated in real time at the front desk. I always say that if I had to choose between, a well-trained desk staff, a great email campaign, wonderful client outreach via the phone or text message, I'm always choosing the front desk. I think it is so critical that when someone has just had an awesome experience with you, they finished their class, they're feeling better than they have in a long time, they're telling themselves, I should really do this more often, that the person at the front desk is saying, did you know that you can get an entire month of classes for just an extra $29 or whatever it is, right? Yeah. And they are using the dollar amount, they are charging the difference, and they are letting them know they're, one of a really important critical key to sales is a sense of urgency. It's only available to you today. It's only available to you on your first visit. So we do need to hold a good boundary around that. I talk to a lot of studio owners who would like to automate everything. They either don't have the staff power for this, or they don't want to have these conversations. Critical, like an absolute must is either investing in well-trained desk staff, which would be my preference, or holding the teachers, accountable for making sure this is the conversation that's happening.
Agree 100%. It's such a critical role. And also those people control a lot of power over getting that person to step back in the door. So it's so easy to just say, hey, when will we see you next? Or can I help you get signed up for your next class? Have you downloaded our app? Do you want to download it so we can book your next class right now and you can see how easy it is? Just asking those questions and getting them to think about the next time is so important when they're in that mode of feeling amazing, right?
That's right. They're most likely to say yes to an actual human being. They're also the most likely to object to an actual human being, which is, what's going to allow you to have that conversation of, even if you come back 2 or 3 times, this is absolutely the best deal, right? Like those types of conversations just can't be replicated in any other way.
Right.
So if you're, I don't know if I'm talking to any online businesses, obviously that this is a little different, but same principle applies, right? Like reach out to them as soon as possible after they've had a great first experience and make the offer.
Awesome.
All right. Cool. All right. So the other things, right? The other things that we want to have in place, assuming we've gotten them to purchase the intro offer, they've started taking a couple of classes with you. Now we step into kind of the nurture campaign. And I am a huge proponent of a high touch, multifaceted process that pings this client a bunch of different times in a bunch of different ways. Because that high level of interaction encourages attendance, right? Like this is how we get them to come. One of the risks with a kind of lower priced intro offer, which isn't to say don't do it, but one of the risks is that if we don't reach out, there's a really good chance they just say to themselves, it was $50, forget it, right? Like I'll just call it a wash and, and they never to be seen or heard from again. So we want to get them using it, because ultimately what's going to get them to become a member is whether or not they're taking your classes, right? So by reaching out a bunch of different times, we kind of subtly say, hey, use that intro offer. We should probably use that intro offer. But with that said, if you're going to reach out 100 different times, not 100, but like, I don't know, 10 different times, you want to have something to say other than how was class? And did you know your membership's expiring? Just a reminder, your membership's expiring. Did you know you got 2 days left on your membership? Like that is, frankly, one of the places where I think some of the campaigns that are, embedded in some of these marketing softwares kind of fall short. Where the content is nothing but just a reminder to buy. They know you're a business. They know you're trying to sell them something. We don't need to shout it from the rooftops 20 times in 30 days. It's just unnecessary. At first, the behavior that we want is just for them to come to class. And then we earn the right to ask for the sale at the end. And Laura, I think you wanted to speak a little bit to kind of the ways of communicating this, because there are some kind of personality types that respond really well to just like a quick, couple words, call to action. Here's what I want you to do. And there's some personality types that respond in different ways. So do you want to?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the unique things about Walla is that we have the ability to learn about the individual at a deeper level. So with our personality typology, you now know if this person is a giver who really needs that kind of extrinsic motivation. They need the push, they need the accountability, they really want the high fives and the how are you doings, versus a maverick who essentially just is on their own. They want to be left alone. They are they're intrinsically motivated. And it's usually something outside of the studio that's motivating them. It might not be, their physical body. It might be that they want to be able to mountain bike on the weekends and they know that they need to stretch to do that. And they're not going to stretch on their own. So they better get their butt to yoga and stretch there. So there's just a very distinct difference in how those people need to be communicated with. And we've got information, and actually we're just releasing a video series that gives a little more detail on each one of those personality types and how to communicate with them. But it's just that extra level of customization that's going to help people feel a little more disarmed in their interaction with you. And that's the goal. We want them to feel comfortable communicating. And I love that in this, where you mentioned the 4 to 6 emails, they're not about, convert, buy. Like that's when sales get sleazy. But when you add value and you educate and you give them interesting information, that's when people are like, oh, this, like, I care. I want to open your emails, right?
Want to open your emails. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love this. I'm like so obsessed with this right now. Like I'm like geeky about figuring out ways to personalize the communication and then like automate it, right? Make it. I love the personality type piece. I think that is just so key in really understanding how the clients will respond and the way that they enjoy being communicated with. I learned something a couple months ago where most customers they actually want to hear from their favorite brands at least once a week, which might feel like a lot for the typical studio owner. But if the content is good and interesting, then it's a pleasure to read your marketing. So I really love that element about Walla.
Yeah. Think about the emails that you like to open, right? Like, what is it that's compelling? What's being shared with you? I mean, sometimes it's just literal products that you want to see what's next, but think about that. Like, they want to see what's next at your studio. If there's an interesting or compelling event or class, or, keep it interesting for them at the business. But also for me personally, like things that make me laugh. I love, or that are like witty. I don't know if you guys ever read The Skim, but I think The Skim is like this fun news, summary of the news from the day before, but they do it in the most witty, like sarcastic, funny way. And I almost want to see the way they do it more than I want to read the news, So there's something that gets me to open the email. So think about that with your brand and how you can weave that in.
Yeah, there's absolutely no one size fits all approach to an email campaign, but anything you can do to kind of get your clients excited about opening the email is a good thing. Some other things you can do in an email campaign that I think are really fantastic are use it to turn your trial clients into a couple more trial clients. So you can do that passively by asking for reviews, which I know is possible with the registration. Yep. So you can use it to kind of passively garner reviews from your clients at the time at which they're most likely to be actively promoting your studio. At the beginning, they're excited. They just found you. They want to share. You can use it to offer invitations to friends. This is something that I do in my own studio, right? It's like, bring a buddy. I really want to leverage that almost hesitation about starting something new, and also the accountability of having a friend there. So we offer our clients guest passes, but they have to use it while they're within their trial. Again, sense of urgency. They bring the friend in, and then of course we upsell them to the intro offer while they're there, and this whole cycle repeats itself.
Well, and with Walla, you can add guest passes to any plan. So you can include a guest pass with your intro offer. And that way, when the person books their first class with the intro offer, it'll say, would you like to add a guest? First name, last name, email, you're done. And so it's so easy to invite them through that process. And the great thing is with the guest, that person is still eligible to purchase an intro offer online. So even if they don't purchase one right there at the studio, they're not, excluded from purchasing it when they interact with you next time online.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So good. What else? Text messaging. Text messaging, for by and large, for most businesses, sometimes I'll recommend a phone call, but for the most part, the people are texting. It's 2022. Text has a 99% open rate. You can two-way text in Walla, which I think is amazing because I'm not a huge fan of, hey, how was your first class as an automation? And then someone gets back to them like 48 hours later. Like, that's not the best, right? Like, we want to task an actual human being, more than likely someone in a sales role, with reaching out at a couple different touch points. I like to text, obviously, as soon as possible after their first visit, not only to say whatever personal thing I can come up with saying, hey, Sally, how did your back feel after your class, is going to get a response a lot more readily than, this is Nicole from Blackbird Yoga Studio. Hope you enjoyed your class. Here's the link to book your next one, right?
Exactly.
Ending the texts with a question one question, not a triple stacked question. Again, ease. Ending the text with a question will likely get them to respond. So I want to reach out after first visit to establish texting, to establish the personalization, to make sure they were in the right class. That's, again, really important. Sometimes people will take the wrong class and then brush off the intro offer because it was cheap. We can address that early. And if we address it early, we're much more likely to salvage that relationship. So it's really important to gather feedback in this process too, and to get it early and often. Sometimes I will trigger a midway text message that goes out when someone's about halfway through their intro offer, if they've not been coming. And that's just kind of that gentle, pokey reminder, hey, you have this thing. Can we get you booked into a class? Question mark. And then, of course, once with your upsell offer. So I didn't necessarily mention this at the beginning, but when you set up your pricing structure, set it up in such a way that you can make an offer on it. You can, the way that I like to do it is by reducing the monthly price. Set it up so that you can say, hey, thanks so much for spending the last month with us. We'd love to continue the journey. We discount our membership if you sign on before Tuesday. It's $120 a month if you grab it now, or whatever. All right. So you want to have an offer, time sensitive. I find that expressing the offer as dollars off versus a percentage off is more powerful for whatever reason.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. For whatever reason, like, I save $20 every month feels more valuable than I save 10%. Right? Like,
right.
But having the sense that they're getting a deal every month for the lifetime of their membership is one, a retention technique. It'll hopefully get them to keep their membership. But two, it feels like a better deal than something like half off your first month, or some of the you get a free t-shirt if you sign up today, or some of the other strategies.
Okay, cool.
So we want to text that upsell so they see it. Text has a 99% open rate. Even the best emails don't quite get there. So we want to make sure we're getting the offer in front of the eyeballs.
Awesome.
And we want to do it in person too. I know we're bumping up on time, but we definitely want to make that offer face-to-face. Again, it gives us the opportunity to overcome any objections they might have. It gives us that face-to-face interaction. People buy from people. We want to make sure the staff is trained to look out for clients who've got expiring trials, which I think they're yellow in Walla, right? Like, they turn yellow.
Yep. And our offer, yellow if it's between, I think, 0 and 19 days, and then red is 20 to 30 days.
There you go. So we want to make sure we're reaching out to those people. And then finally closing the deal, right? We've nurtured, we've inspired, we've educated, we've touched base, we've built a relationship. I love membership tiers. I think the, kind of the old way of trying to price your unlimited membership so low that everybody buys it is sort of dead and gone.
Yeah.
Most boutique businesses can't necessarily afford that kind of, volume. We don't necessarily have the space or the client volume or the desire to charge, such a low rate anymore. And so membership tiers give people choices, and choices are really powerful. I just learned last week, the average boutique fitness customer has 2.5 memberships. So hate to break it to you, but they're not just coming to your studio. And so by having an option that's maybe at a slightly lower price point for a class a week or something like that is a great way to get those customers on auto pay with less of a financial commitment. And it's, the relationship doesn't end the second they sign on the dotted line on this contract. Maybe they start with a once a week membership, decide they love it, and then your automation discovers that they're blowing through it every, their 4 classes in 2 weeks, and you sell them an unlimited membership, right? So I love tiers. It's important. Perks can be a nice thing to kind of add on to your memberships as a selling point. And then of course, we've got to use the price at the very end. It works, right? Like having the membership be the best deal, it works, and having a promotional price that encourages that immediate buy-in, that immediate purchase is really, really key.
Yeah, absolutely. And with perks, just kind of a quick shout out there, the being able to add video on demand into a membership or add guest passes, those are things that are really going to help you stand out. It's not just like a free towel or something. It's actually something that they can use and will add value over time.
Video on demand, I love it. I mean, the vast majority of clients, like 80 something %, now that they've been exposed to the option of virtual, want the option of virtual. And so even if that's not the kind of bread and butter of your business, having it as an option is really key. And then of course you want to have some option for when people don't convert. It's going to happen probably half the time or more. And so we can personalize even this, find out why they didn't convert, and then send out the right messaging or the right offer, whether that's a package, I don't know, a lower membership tier, whatever it is. We want to not just kind of fall radio silent when they don't immediately convert.
Right.
It's important to have marketing built in throughout the lifetime of a client, right? So if they don't come back for a certain number of weeks or months, we continue to reach out, until maybe they come back or maybe they unsubscribe. Right. But we always want to have kind of this circular thing going on where we're allowing as few people to fall through the cracks as possible.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Just something quickly before you dive into that. Something new-ish in Walla that you guys can use is the push notifications feature too for the app. So we have a filter on the push notifications to be able to send a notification to people who haven't been to the studio in a certain amount of time. So you can use that as a win back. Like probably people who haven't been there in a year don't have your app on their phone anymore, but maybe people who haven't been to the studio in a month or 6 weeks or 8 weeks. So you can push things to them like, hey, new class, or, new program offered at the studio, or we'd love to see you again. So really quick and easy way to do that outside of just the traditional text and email.
Cool. Awesome. All right. I don't see any questions in the chat. If anyone has one, a quick one, feel free to drop it there. But I always offer a free hour to prospective clients to talk through your needs. If that's something that you're interested in, the link to find me is right here on the slide.
Yeah. And you guys take advantage of that. Like she has such a wealth of knowledge. She has a successful studio. So she's been in your seat and she's really been able to put these things into practice. So being able to get some of the granular details on how you can either build a campaign or the types of emails that have the highest opening click rates, just really, really valuable. So, all right. Okay. Does anybody have questions? Anybody tried something that you're dying to wonder why it did or didn't work? We're certainly happy to answer that now. And type now or forever hold your peace. Actually, not forever. You can ask her personally because
yeah, feel free. I love talking about this stuff. You're welcome. This is fun for me. I really like to get creative about the ways that we communicate with our clients. So Nicole, I'm not responding to Nicole. How are you? So awesome. Broken mirrors. No.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for being here. And there, I will send this link out. So I'll be sending the PowerPoint out to everybody who signed up. And here you'll be able to see this link in the PowerPoint. And actually, Nicole, will just have you send that to me too, so we can follow up with everybody. And that's where you can book. But otherwise, we'll see you guys. Everybody who's still on, just quickly, the next event is going to be in July, and it's actually going to be me and Josh Biro. So Josh works with us here at Walla. Many of you guys know him from the Yogipreneur Collective, and we're putting something special together for everyone. So love to see you, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.